welcome to episode 139 of Nugget's Dungeon Terrain. Today, a couple more tiles in the Zombie Apocalypse series. Most of the tiles I've made so far have more depth and are a little bit more constrictive on the movement. This tile section is going to be more of an open road area, but it is going to have two explosion craters in it. The bases are all 1 centimeter thick. I mark out areas that pieces will move. They're approximately 1 inch spaces. I use the old Warhammer Quest template to build up roughly where these are going to go. There's a little bit of space on the sides of the tiles for extra little pieces of scenery. I've used a hot wire probe to make the craters, starting in the middle and dragging outwards, so that the middle ends up deeper than the edges. I decided to paint around the flat area of crater before I added the 3D effects. Here I'm adding some artist gel. This comes straight out of a tube. This one has some pumice mixed into it, so it's already got a fairly good sandy, rocky texture. Next, I add some small pieces of glass. These are going to be parts of the tarmac that have burst and broken out. I'm adding a little bit of super glue to most of these pieces just to speed up the drying process. The crater mostly consists of the dirt that lies underneath the road, but you'll see in the next shot that I've carefully picked out some of the texture on the outside to represent the parts of the road that were broken away. I realise I've kind of put extra debris over this whole tile piece, but I also wanted nice flat areas for the pieces to stand while we're playing. Next I'm building a T-Junction tile. So of course this means that I've had to allow for 3 2-inch spaces on 3 sides of this piece. To make it clear where these 3 entry and exit points are, I'm going to put extra barriers and hazards on the edges that other tiles cannot connect to. Here I'm using scrap pieces of XPS foam, some modelling gel and some other pieces to make these different blocked off areas. The modelling gel that I used here doesn't have the coarse texture in it, it's much squishier. So I make a blob of it and then I push the tyre down so that some of the, what will later become mud, points up and pokes through the holes of the tyre. This is a mixer from a tap. It's the thing that makes the water spray out instead of blob out. I've already taken out the washer that's also shaped in the same filter-like fashion and use that in another project. I'm going to keep that to make imprints on XPS foam. But this part is going straight in as it is. So I burn a little hole and push it in. Of course, with the burning you don't make a perfect shape, so then I've just used some glue and artist gel to fill in the gaps. In the game that I play, the sewer plates are not just an aesthetic, but they're part of the game. Only players can travel through the sewers, and it allows them to connect back to other tile sections that they've used before without having to worry about zombie threats. So I'm careful not to place this on every tile, but to use it more sparingly. Once again, I'm using one of my favourite things. This is my really old pot of 10 bits paint. It has little flakes of metal in it, and to that I've added crumbled up pieces of actual rusted metal. The paint dried out quite a long time ago, so every now and again I just add a little bit of water and I dab on any metal areas, and it leaves behind not just a dark stain but also little chunks of metal that dry and look like the metal is breaking up. Once the tin bits are dry, I go to my patina paints, in particular the orange, and just touch over all of these metal areas again. Finally, some Deadlands grass from the Army Painter series. I add this to some of the nooks in the terrain piece to make it look like the weeds are taking over. So there you have it, and thanks for joining. I realise that not everyone will want to make smaller tile sections like these, but I am playing a dungeon crawler style of game. If you're interested in something more for role playing or a tabletop battle, obviously you'll change the base and the area that they stand on, in which case, hopefully, you've spotted some resources or techniques or some interesting ideas for terrain that you could use in your modelling.